So basically how it works is that she is an ASL interpreter, and she's certified, nationally certified from RID, which is the Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf. They're the ones who take care of certification for American Sign Language interpreters. Have to follow the Code of Professional Conduct and ethical guidelines, et cetera, et cetera. You can't pull someone who just happens to know the language or a little bit of the language. They really have to have certain skill sets. And so Rain has passed that certification. So she's a second language user of American Sign Language, and I'm a native user. So we work together, and Rain is sort of the generalist who gives me the information. We call it feeding. So feeding a chunk of information. Many people think it's a translation. That requires us getting it ahead of time and then thinking about it, editing, etc. That's translation. Interpretation is live, in the moment. We don't have any information ahead of time. So, for example, part of Rain's job is interpreting. She's taking what I'm saying right now in ASL and coming up with an English equivalent. That's difficult because sometimes the idioms in ASL and the idioms in English don't match up, for example. English speakers say, like, you missed the boat. In ASL, it's something that's, you've missed the train, is train gone. So the interpreter really has to come up with what's equivalent, what's the equivalent meaning, what's the goal and meaning of the interaction. And sometimes the governor says something and the interpreter, Rain, gives me something that's a little more English, and I go, oh, I know what that means. And Arkady says, then I reinterpret it into something that is very understandable and native looking for the viewers at home. The expressions and all of that's used. Sometimes hearing people that don't know ASL are looking at it and they're thinking it's something else, or they really don't know. People who use spoken languages use tone of voice. They use different types of speaking to indicate different markers, different things. In ASL and other signed languages, the grammar and also the tone is on the face and body language. So for example, if you're going to eat an apple this way, that way, it looks different. This is enjoyable, this is not enjoyable. It's a very tart apple. So there's lots of ways to use signed languages to include affect. What is the person saying? Are they being serious? Or are they just saying, well, maybe you should wash your hands? Or are they saying you really need to wash your hands? And sometimes people make comments and things and say, oh, this guy's throwing up gang signs. And it's like, that's really disrespectful to the deaf community. This is important information. And people say, oh, you're pointing to your face, you're going to make yourself sick. There are signs that have to make contact with your face. It's just part of the language. It's just part of access. It's from the waist up, from this area up in the signing space. So it's things that people don't know about. We just ask that people are respectful of ASL. ASL is a beautiful and natural language.